Welcome back to Seen It Before. This is a new series we like to call Duel of the Debates. This is our second episode of it. Let's introduce our fighters for today.
Hi, I'm Danny.
Hi, I'm Miguel.
How's it going? I'm John.
Yeah, we're all kind of here, just
chilling
hanging
like
out.
Villains.
Yeah, just feeling it. All right, so guys,
You had that geared up, didn't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have it geared up. All right. So today's question. What is it, Danny? What is today's question?
Today's question is the best TV show that has grown on you. And I picked Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I picked Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
And I went with Scrubs. The
Scrub
non-animated one. Did you say I fucked up?
What? No, it's
Okay.
That is completely different.
Already starting? Okay.
Yeah. But
All right, guys. So the rules are as follows. So you get an opening argument for 2 minutes. Then you got 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds of a rebuttal. And then we got however long until our God decides to, cut you off. We'll introduce her in just a bit. But, let's start with... who should we start with?
Russian roulette.
Russian roulette? No,
I don't want to go.
I think we're going to start with
You go first. I
John.
insist. Me?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're going to start.
All right. So let me know when the timer's going. Or do I just rip it off?
No. That's why God is here.
You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You fucking better. 3, 2, 1.
So the key to the question is what has grown on you. So when I first watched Scrubs, I was like, oh, this is just a generic TV show. It's basically like Full House, but in a hospital setting. But as the time went on and as the seasons continued, it evolved into an actually like very in-depth show that was both funny as well as very emotionally driven. So a lot of the comedy, you had the Todd's high five thing. You had anything the janitor did. Dr. Cox's crazy rants that went on for like 5 minutes. JD and Turk's very weird homoerotic, but not homoerotic, relationship. That was all that comedy, which I would argue is probably some of the best comedy in TV in general, is followed by a lot of emotionally driven scenes that, again, I would argue are probably some of the best in TV history. You have the "Where do you think we are" scene. You have the whole rabies event where Dr. Cox gives gives organs to a group of people that had rabies, so ended up killing like 5 people. So it's one of those things, and then of course the finale itself is insanely good, very emotional. So I would argue a show that started off very generic, very boring, has evolved into some of the best TV I have ever seen. So I will get more into why the other two aren't as good. I'll save that for the rebuttals, but I would argue that is what that makes Scrubs one of the best TV shows out there.
Before his time. Look at him go.
All right. Here we go again. Moving on to Miguel with Clone Wars.
I'll try not to make funny faces while you're
Before we
doing your
start the
argument.
timer, I just touched the mic. I said scrub a dub dub, not whatever you thought I said.
Oh Jesus! I thought you said you fucked.
I know. That's why I had to make this very clear.
You
like,
fucked
wait a
up.
minute.
Scrub a dub dub.
I was like, yo, this guy's coming in hard off the rip.
No, I did last time.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, have you seen his legs?
Seriously.
It's a
Miguel, are you ready?
Oh yeah.
3, 2, 1.
The show I obviously chose was The Clone Wars. And the reason I picked this one was because we watched it as a kid. We saw it go through in an era, that's not the right term, not chronological order. If you remember when it came out, it was not in the same order that it is now if you go back and watch it. So that over time naturally just got better because I think the idea was that they created like this whole show and then they wanted to add on more to it. And in order to add on more, they had to create prereqs. And so over time, they actually kind of created prerequisite shows that made it pretty much out of order. And so after like 10 years, I went back and watched it over the COVID pandemic. And I was like, this is so much better than I remember. And I think the best part about it was obviously having like more life experience and actually understanding some of the little nuances in the show. The way like Anakin and Obi-Wan and all of them actually care about their troopers made you also care about their troopers. One of the biggest things I think from the prequels is that you don't really feel for the state troopers, Lamau. You don't really feel for the troopers, the clones. they're just clones. You know, whenever they die, they die. But you really fall in love with characters in which before you hadn't even had feelings for. You fall in love with Rex, who comes back in many different series. It made me connect better with the video games. It made me connect better with everything else in the Star Wars realm. Unlike the recent trilogy, the Clone Wars enhanced Star Wars, whereas, the recent trilogy, we won't talk about that here. But my last point I want to make is that Ahsoka is amazing, no matter what Danny says.
Fantastic.
I like Ahsoka. What's
Fantastic. That's it. Argument 1. Everybody's finishing early today.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
We're going to make this a continuing joke over here. I think we're going to make this a continuing joke. All right. Anyway, so moving on to Danny with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Wait, when's the timer start?
Don't question God. We already had that argument.
Okay.
Go!
Okay, so Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think, is the best TV show out of any of these TV shows. It's almost one of the best TV shows of all time. The question you mentioned was a TV show that's grown on you. That's a subjective kind of thing. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender grew on me because at first I'm like, what's this anime show? I wasn't too into it, and so that's a subjective thing. I think what we should be arguing is what the best TV show that has grown on you subjectively. And that's Avatar: The Last Airbender. It frequently tops the best TV shows ever created list. My sources are IMDb and Rolling Stone. Masterful storytelling with a clear objective throughout each episode. Literally 1 or 2 bad episodes in its entire run. There's multiple arcs of Clone Wars that are just, you throw them out, baby with the bathwater. They're just that bad. Scrubs got bad towards the end of its run. This show is appealing to all ages and is layered and designed in a way that rewards rewatching not only in the moment, but over time as you age, you'll understand each character even more. Uncle Iroh is a great example. As the older you are and the more loss you experience, the more heartbreaking his story is and motivation for training Zuko is. The world building in the 4 nations, the bending styles, the whole gimmick is revolutionary. It's simple, yet it can be built upon in so many different ways. There's countless. It spawned a sequel series, spawned a movie, but we don't talk about that. Zuko's redemption arc, Aang's inner conflict, Azula's need for approval, Sozin's comet, the chase, bitter work. These are just episodes that are just amazing and wonderfully crafted, and you can go back to them at any age and get anything and get new stuff out of them every time. And what else can I say? Tales of Ba Sing Se, Uncle Iroh's story specifically. Come on, you can't beat that. That's an amazing short story. Jump-started an entire generation into discovering anime. Like, I'm included because, I dabbled in My Hero After. And, so that's my argument, yeah.
All right. We are moving on to the rebuttal round. Good job, duelers. And we are going to go back to John for his rebuttal for about a minute to a minute and a half, depending on how God sees you fit. John?
So right off the rip, you said Scrubs got worse towards the end. Are we talking about the last season?
No, I didn't even want to mention that.
Well, that's the thing. If you were, I was going to say they've definitively nixed that from canon because it was their attempt to revamp the show. So I wouldn't even count that. My argument is, Last Airbender is not the best anime. Period. Dragon Ball Z is better. Death Note's better. And I would argue Dragon Ball Z introduced more people to anime than Last Airbender. And for Star Wars: The Clone Wars, I'll be honest, I haven't seen it, so I'm going to rely on Danny to do most of the point. But my argument is, how can it be the best show if it's one of those things that it's in such a niche group, like a niche fan base? It's hard. A good show reaches to everyone, all walks of life, and I would say Star Wars is not that. Again, I'm not into Star Wars, you are, so I can't say this episode is good, that episode is good, because I haven't seen it. So that'll be Danny's thing. Also, to argue with Danny, you're mentioning a bunch of episodes. That also goes with Scrubs. There's the Wizard of Oz episode when they spawn, or they do a whole rip on Wizard of Oz. There's the musical episode. There's the mini golf episode. There's a bunch of episodes that, if we're going to go episode for episode, there's tons of ones that Scrubs do. There's the whole thing where they make a spoof on sitcoms in a hospital that then ends with another emotional scene. So as a whole, I would argue Scrubs is a show that reaches more audience, has evolved over time more, and overall has a better arcing story for every single one of its characters.
Okay.
I just want to note that when I started the timer for John's rebuttal, I set it to an hour and a half and didn't realize we were good.
Should have kept going.
Also, I was distracted because looping back, Daniel, my darling, my love, can you tell me what your sources were for that Avatar list again, real quick?
IMDb and Rolling Stone.
Daniel's son, can you check that?
Are you sure it's IMDb and Rolling Stone?
Rolling Stone is top 50 of the of the 2000s.
All right.
And IMDb, I think it's on top 100 TV shows of all time.
All right. IMDb is right, but I'm having some trouble finding that Rolling Stone list you're talking about. But
Fact checker, can we see where
alas,
Scrubs is on those lists?
It's not. Miguel, your turn.
Ooh, there we
Well,
go.
I argue
there
those
we go.
sources entirely. So
Well, Scrubs. Are we starting right now?
Okay, I made sure my timer was right. Go.
Okay, not an hour. Anyways, Scrubs, the thing I think with Scrubs is the biggest thing is what happens with a lot of shows. It was popular and they just kept it going when it shouldn't have kept going. And from what I've read on it, again, the same way with you with the Clone Wars, I didn't watch Scrubs, so I can't say too much on it. But it seems like
highly recommend.
understandable. It seems like it was one of those cash grab shows after a few seasons. And you can always recycle the same things over and over again. And that can be applied to a lot of shows. But from what I've seen, it's kind of similar to like Shameless, where it's like just the same stuff over and over again, just a different way of doing it. And that is never going to have a lasting impact on somebody because it's going to just die over time because people are just going to be like, oh, it's old news. I don't want to even touch it again. It's like The Walking Dead or something like that. But to Avatar, it's very hard for me to argue with Avatar because it's obviously such a great show. This is about what is better the next time we watch it, at least how I viewed it. Avatar is amazing no matter when you watch it. It might have gotten better over time, but arguably
30 seconds
Clone
left.
Wars was not as good, not even close as good as it was later on, especially when they added in the prerequisite episodes and when they more things were flushed out and there's more of a fan base on it. And they added the last season that gave it a real finale that actually felt right. And it really makes you love Star Wars more generally. It enhances your love for Star Wars. Whereas Avatar, it's great in itself, but it doesn't improve. It's not the future can't rely on it, if that makes sense in a way.
Hey, that was perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Okay. Fair enough.
I can't believe you just said fair enough.
All right. And we are on to our final fighter of the rebuttal here. And just before we go any further, I did have a choice for this episode, but I did so terribly on the Spider-Man one, I decided to just, sit here and switch, be the director. Moving
Respect
on.
your decision.
I respect my decision too. So, all right, moving on to Danny. You ready?
Yes, I am ready.
All right, 1 second.
That's all you need.
3.
She's still laughing.
Just go. Let's go.
All right. So, I'm glad you said that Avatar is great. I think it expands way more than just being in and of itself. It spawned Legend of Korra. It spawned its own movie. It spawned a fan project, a fan project called Tales of Genji or Legend of Genji, and it has a huge following on YouTube. So it definitely has. It's definitely like growing, inspiring kids who watched the show when on its original run in like 2005 to 2008. And now they're creating stuff of their own. So you could say maybe for the Clone Wars, but that last season, the only notable thing of the last season is the final arc. That's every other season has a lot of misses in it, and it's just filled with a lot of holes. Avatar is solid in and of itself, just alone, because it had the perfect span of time, seasons 1 through 3. It told the story that it was trying to tell, got in, got out. For Scrubs,
30 seconds left.
that musical episode, all those specific episodes you pointed out, I don't like them. I don't think
That's
fans like them.
subjective, isn't it?
It is
You're the one
subjective.
talking about subjectiveness.
You're true.
Stop interrupting him, please.
Sorry.
But yeah, I just don't think. I mean, I know that season 9 is scrubbed out of canon, but it's still there.
Scrubbed out.
It was at one point officially a part of the show, so I'm going to consider it a little bit part of it. But JD is an insufferable fucking asshole. I hate him. He's the worst main character ever. Okay, I'll just end on that.
Okay.
Final note.
Well, boys, it seems we have already come to the last part of our show where you guys yell at each other for about 15 minutes, and Dan and I sit here almost pissing our pants because we're laughing at you three.
Miguel's going to pull out
I'm
another
ready
picture
to
of
laugh
me.
my ass off, just so we're aware. All right, so whenever you guys are ready, it's all on you.
It's a free-for-all now, so...
I'm going to start real quick. I think you're getting a little too wrapped up in which one was better. The question wasn't which one was better. The question was which one improved over
Which one has
time.
grown on you over time? So
Yeah.
the issue with Airbender is it started off great and then it just stayed at that level
the thing is,
whole
though,
time.
Subjectively...
That's not the question.
Okay.
The question is what show has grown on you over time?
Over time,
Not
yes.
which is the best show. The question is
Well,
which one
no,
has
it's
grown.
the best show that has grown on you over time.
Exactly.
It's a two-part question.
You're right. It's a two-part question. So, yeah, it's good. But like I said, it stays on that. You watch 2 episodes and you enjoy it the same amount as the 2 episodes as you do over time.
I would argue it gets even better as you grow older.
That's debatable.
You can grow with the characters. You understand the complexity that the
Almost like
writers
that's
were
why
trying to do.
debating.
Exactly.
Does it
the
get
whole
better?
point of this
Does
show.
Avatar get better, or do you get better as a person?
Avatar makes
Avatar
you a
gets
better
better.
person.
He sucks.
Whoa,
No, I would
what did
say
God just
you.
say?
No, I would say you like relate to it more, but as a story, as an arc, or whatever you want to say it stays the
It
same.
grows on you over time.
No, that's how we're at. No,
No.
I don't think those spin-off Legend of Korra and all that didn't really do
No.
it a great justice, to be honest with you. Anything that's come off of Avatar is
But
not.
again,
been
you wanna
even
talk
close.
about
Oh, we want
How-
to talk about the sequel trilogy? We want to talk about anything Disney's done besides Mandalorian?
Besides Mandalorian. Oh well.
Because, like,
Miguel, why don't you talk about anything? It's been these two so much. Please go ahead.
Well, no, I think that's not really spun off the Clone Wars. I mean, I would say like Bad Batch probably is more spun off the Clone
Rebels?
Wars. Rebels. I actually haven't seen Rebels. I need to get to it. I'm catching up on Bad Batch right now. I know. Dude, there's only 24 hours a day. They need to make more. Simply put.
Rebels is so good.
no. No, it's not.
So Dan is here to debate Rebels. Let's
Dan-
throw him in the ring.
Dan's
That's
just
his
a
show.
chime in.
I know he said The Office, but
Dan's
that's
like
his
the
show.
hype man. He's got money on this, and he's
Ooh,
just
go
hyping up the
Rebels.
guy.
Listen.
We know what you're doing.
What were you saying, Miguel, though?
I was just saying that stuff. A lot of stuff that was you're mentioning here wasn't spun off directly from the Clone Wars series. Like the trilogy and all that was not at all spun off from the Clone Wars series. I mean,
You want to know what it was? The first 4 episodes, which was made into the worst Star Wars movie anyone's ever seen.
which one's that?
It's called The Clone Wars.
Well, isn't that the
Clone
whole
Wars
issue with
movie.
Star
Oh,
Wars
yeah,
is that
that
so
one.
much stuff is
I actually
canon, but then
forget
some
about that
stuff
because it
won't be
wasn't
canon. Like that's
Miguel
one of the
just
reasons I
accepts
can't get into
defeat.
Star Wars. Is like a book will be canon or a
No,
video
no.
game will be canon, but not the sequel to that video game or not the prequel to that book.
Yeah.
So it's like
It's such a mess.
It really is, and like. This is like one of the things with Star Wars. It's such a wide, the meme is like, oh, that guy in the background. Yeah, he has 2 movies coming up. So it's hard.
Yeah, remember Andor? He's getting 2 seasons of a show now.
Remember
Just
that
'cause.
musician on stage? Yeah, he's got a TV show coming out in 2 weeks. It's gonna be great.
Oh, the Jabba Hutt thing.
Yeah. So for Clone Wars, that's another one of those things where at least I look at it as like, oh, that's just another thing that if you want to talk about cash grabs, I would argue that's a cash grab. Because all this stuff, video games, books, some of it's canon, some of it's not. It's not a clear story on what is and what is not. And that's one of the hard reasons that I would say that is a good show. And to argue your point, you want to talk about, the 9th season not being good, you're going to still bring it up. Well, then we should start talking about the movie. Because your TV show...
Want to wipe it? Want to wipe it?
We can go even.
We'll go even.
We'll go even.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
I agree.
See, you would.
I don't
want
want to listen. I don't want to talk about the movie. I don't think anybody wants to talk about.
But
the
you
movie.
have. But that's the thing.
But it's part of the universe. It's not part of the show that I'm talking about.
We can
Right.
say that with all of
Scrubs,
ours,
the
though.
9th season was part of the show.
Debatable. It ended definitively when JD left that hospital, and they had the whole final scene where literally every.
I know what you mean. But you could say Breaking Bad ended in season 4, but they had a whole another season, and then they added another movie to it. You know what I mean? So it's like keep
Right, but that's the saying. If you want to bring that up, if you want to bring 9th up, we're going to bring the movie up. But if you want to stay flat, we can stay flat.
Fine.
I think we should stay
Although,
flat.
to be fair, If we're staying flat, the Clone Wars movie
That
does
was
not
what I was about
exist.
to say. That
No,
was-
Clone
that was-
Wars movies part of it was going to be the first 4 episodes. It's considered to be the first 4 episodes of the show.
Do we have a fact check on that?
Keep talking. No.
All right. Well,
That's
anyway,
busy.
it doesn't really matter because Clone Wars took way too long to find its footing. A lot of finagling with Ahsoka and
Right,
Anakin's
but that's
relationship.
the thing, though. It did find its footing, and so when you go back and watch them,
Barely.
they're great.
It found its footing in its last episode. I don't call that a success.
I don't know. I disagree. I mean, from the first episode where Yoda's on the planet and making the deal with I forgot what the race is called, but they makes the deal with them over the separatists.
The droid arc. Come on.
Right to the ending where
nothing.
Darth Vader picks up
Right
the
over.
lightsabers. There obviously are some filler. And I will say Last Airbender didn't have much filler. But again, I must repeat, and I must make this very clear. This is not about, or at least for the most part, at least in my mind, this is not about which show is the best. This is about which one got better over time.
Right, and I agree.
And Avatar has not gotten better over time. It has been amazing since the start.
Plateaued right from the
Scrubs,
I don't know.
I
I'd
have to
argue.
argue. I don't think it's gotten much better. I think that's the same.
I would
I think it
argue that
declined.
strongly.
I think it only declined.
I would
what
I
I
would
was
argue that
thinking.
decline. The first
It
episode
peaked maybe in
is
season
the
4.
first season. I'll say they're getting their footing. It literally was like a full house. Like, oh, we're gonna do comedy bits, and at the very end, we're gonna have this like very like, oh, this is the lesson of the episode. That's how the season started. But then as time went on, it evolved into a more a more dynamic show. Because like I said, you have all these dramatic scenes that I would argue not a lot of shows do. Like the whole "Where Are We Now?" where, spoilers for who haven't watched it, you should probably go watch it. There's a character that Dr. Cox loves, who I would actually argue we'll get into. I would say Dr. Cox is the main character, not JD. But so he has a brother-in-law, and it turns out this guy has cancer. And so the next 3 episodes, they're going through the treatment. And at the end of this arc, they're walking, and Dr. Cox is wearing a suit, and Brendan Fraser's character is just walking with him. And long story short, he's like, oh, you're going to take pictures because it's my baby's birthday, da-da-da-da. So JD comes from around the corner, and he's like, oh, who are you talking to? He's like, why are we going to take photos? And then they pan off, and it's a funeral. He's been dead the whole time. That, and then they put like a nice emotional song underneath it, and they like Dr. Cox was this stoic, strong, like I don't need anyone's help. They cut to him sitting at the funeral with everyone like supporting him as he just cries. That scene alone, I would argue is better than any scene in Clone Wars, and I would argue debatable. I will give you debatable, but the emotion you get from, I'm drawing a blank on his name, the actor's name. I love him. But the emotion you get from his acting alone is more and has increased the show's dynamicy or the overall like element of the show that increased with the show. So I would argue that alone is what made the show better. Like it increased.
I feel
The
like
actor is John C. McGinley.
Thank you.
you're picking up highlights of a 9-season show. And I
8.
feel like we all can do that with ours. I mean, I can bring up the Ahsoka
It's
Mall.
8.
It is
I'll
8.
concede it's 8.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, might be. I'm gonna make some. But like, the Ahsoka Mall fight was great. When the soldiers start realizing that they have chips in their brain, if you want to go on like the whole emotional joyride there, the emotions that they display in an animated series about realizing they're gonna probably turn on the Jedi was heartbreaking. I mean, maybe I was just emotional when I was watching it or something, but man, it was getting to me. Seeing how the Jedi actually care for the troopers, I really, this is probably my favorite point, is Anakin was one of like the top 3. There's no like definitive proof on this stuff, but from like all the articles I read and like people put together like their hypothesis on who is the one who cared the most about their troops. It was generally Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Luminari Undura. Did I say it?
Luminara Unduli.
Unduli. My handwriting's really bad. And then close fourth was like Plo Koon. I'm always bad at saying these
Plo
names.
Koon.
Yeah. But he had that bad time on that. The Wolfpack had a really bad time on the battle of starts with an A.
Onderon?
Abagro, something like that.
I don't know that one.
That like destroyed his troops.
Sounds like
so
you got to
he's
do
not-
homework just to watch
But-
the show.
Exactly.
That does not sound like something I want to watch.
No. I watched this so I could defend it against Scrubs. That's why I looked up all this stuff. But
Not Scrubs, not Avatar.
whoa. Anakin
The guy who likes the sand?
The
Or doesn't like the sand? That guy?
Anakin.
Is that what this show's
That
about?
fucking dipshit.
That guy's the main character? Mr. I don't like sand?
Well, it's
No,
an
no.
anthology series, so he's not like a.
Yeah,
there is no main character.
Okay,
really.
so it just, okay.
Yeah, but seeing how Anakin is the one who probably has the most passion and care the most about his soldiers, and then becomes Darth Vader. I mean, if you just watch the recent Obi-Wan series, he literally it's pretty bad. I mean, he's walking through the streets, killing people essentially. I mean, I don't know if they technically die, but I mean, they probably do. It's a seeing. It gives it more emphasis on the switch that Anakin had from the beginning of the Star Wars series to when he becomes Darth Vader.
See, but that's the thing, though. The whole show is just damage control for things that George kind of messed up in the prequels. That's its purpose.
Doesn't it make it better though?
But isn't that all Star
It
Wars?
improves on the rest of Star Wars, but
Isn't that
that's
all
not.
Star Wars? The next thing comes out that is literally just, hey, sorry
we
about the
messed
last
this
thing.
up.
Hey, sorry
Yeah.
about The Last Jedi. Here's a Disney Plus show. Oh, sorry about that Disney Plus show. Here's a
I think we
book.
can all agree the recent trilogy is like
Terrible.
Yes, it can be thrown in the
I
in the
don't
trash.
like
That was-
the new trilogy.
Fun
But
fact,
I
those
like
are
that
the only
robot
ones
though.
I've seen
BB-8's
fully.
great. You can see that in the cameras, but
yeah, it's kind of you see him kind of hanging out right there.
Little poke out.
Don't break it like I broke it.
there he is.
Oh, he's gonna fall. Oh, he's gonna fall. Okay.
It's like a wobble.
Wibbly wobbly.
There you go.
All right.
He's fucked. Sorry.
So, but the cultural impact, I think, of Avatar: The Last Airbender, just the show, is way more than either of
I
the,
think
either
we
of the
can
two
probably
shows.
all agree Avatar is the best show out
Yeah.
of these three.
And that's
But that's not the question.
at least part of the question.
That's
I'd
part
argue
of the question. I don't think it's
Then
the main part of
the
the question.
question maker should have just have been a one thing. Either what's the best show
I'm
or
a question maker.
you should have done
I was
better. You
involved
should have done
in
better.
this one too.
Both
so
of you
it's
should
on
have done
I
better.
think I think if we're going to talk about the show getting better over time, I think that definitely happened with animation and storytelling in general.
You
Like
can't say animation because that's just technology as a whole. Like that's not something definitively the show.
the concentration on the artwork, and I think that the animators improved their skill over time.
You don't need better animation. Being a little bit of a dweeb myself with Attack on Titan, the last episode is actually animated worse than the first, or last season is animated worse than the first 3 seasons, and still considered one of the best.
But you also
Wait,
argue.
wait. Sorry, cutting you off. People actually consider season 4 of Attack on Titan the best.
Yes,
They're wrong.
No, season
Moving
3 part
on.
2 is the best.
I'm
Moving on. We're not
halfway
talking
through-
about Attack on Titan.
Okay.
Go.
I think okay. So the,
But you talk about culture. I would argue there have been a lot more animes that have introduced.
I'm not saying I'm not saying specifically anime. I'm saying that Avatar: The Last Airbender has been a cultural phenomenon for America, at least, way more than Scrubs or the Clone Wars specifically has been.
Yeah, but if we're gonna make that argument, I would say Dragon Ball Z was better. I would say that introduced.
Yeah, but
a
you're
lot
not
more
arguing
people.
Dragon Ball Z.
No,
you're
but
arguing
saying,
Scrubs.
You're saying Avatar is the
I'm
best
saying,
show.
I'm
and
saying it's better than
no.
your shows.
No,
More cultural impact, better storytelling. It's tighter. It's the character development. If you're talking about you're talking about the emotionality with Dr. Cox and like I'm not sure what you were talking about.
First, I went on with the like Rex and all them when they realized they have
the
chip in
the
their
relationship
brains,
between the
stuff
Jedi
like that.
I'm
then
saying
also Anakin and it's
yeah.
Jedi,
the guy with the sand.
I'm saying the efficiency that we saw in Tales
fight that one.
of Ba Sing Se, the efficiency of just Uncle
Sing Se
Iroh's
never happened.
over like five minutes. Basically, you get an entire story arc and a heartbreaking ending.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Yeah. But see, you know that because of the show, because it's so popular.
Right. Again,
Everyone knows Order 66 because of Revenge of the Sith.
execute Order 66.
I think what you were arguing, the last arc is more enhanced, or you get context from Revenge of the Sith, which isn't part of the Clone Wars show. So it's
Well, that's
a
what I'm
paired
saying, though,
piece.
is it improves. It improves.
It
over
improves
time.
other things. It doesn't improve itself.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's some complicated way of saying this, but by like commutative property or whatever, that is transitive property, whatever you want to use, it's going to get better. Because
It's over.
Star Wars as a whole gets better. It means Clone Wars gets better. It rises. Everything rises together with Star Wars and falls together with Star Wars.
It's been falling pretty far.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll give you both a couple more moments to get your last thoughts out. But we've been going on for like 15 minutes, so
that's because Star Wars.
it's terrible.
I think Scrubs just doesn't have a place in either of these.
I thought you were going to say on Earth.
From these two shows.
Again, that's
the show is it's not even one of the best comedies ever made. You know?
No, it's a cult classic. It is definitely
It's
one
in
of
the same category as Walking Dead and Shameless, where it just
absolutely
plays
not.
on forever.
No, because those shows are still on.
It died. It died in
Walking
like
Dead's
season 4.
No, because
Walking
that's
Dead? I would say 3 or 4.
Oh, no, not Walking Dead. I'm saying Scrubs
Walking Dead ended like once they got out of the prison.
Yeah,
No, for
pretty much.
Scrubs, they continue to add storylines. JD gets a girlfriend. JD has a son. Now he has to start dealing with family dynamics while still
it's
keeping
keep
his
life
the
show
show
support.
going,
Life support for
I
the
get-
show. What do they do to make a show last longer? They introduce a kid.
They bring back a villain that was supposed to be dead.
What villain would that have been? Who came back from the morgue in this show? that
But
I
did Brendan
missed?
Fraser come back from the dead?
It was an example.
And then
I was kidding the whole
JD's
time.
just like, what are you talking to?
Yeah,
and
who are you talking
he's
to?
like,
Oh, Brendan Fraser.
zombie Brendan
Then
Fraser.
it becomes The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It becomes a full murder.
And then okay. So that would be an interesting way to, if they didn't do that stupid med school thing at the end.
Again,
I'm not arguing that,
But again, no, I will, like, you're saying, they like try to keep it alive. I would say that is a perfect example of trying to keep it alive, not adding new elements to a show. Like trying to revamp with new cast members, a new place, a new setting. That's revamping, giving it life support, as you said. I would, just adding.
they ran out of ideas. They had to do a musical episode.
What's wrong with that?
It's the worst episode I think I've ever
it's
seen in
not.
my life.
No,
As
it's
a
not.
fanboy, that it's very hard for you to distinguish between what is a actually great, like, I'm sure the first parts of the show were amazing, but it seems like you're defending this because of how much you love the show rather than.
No, I'll admit there are definitely weak points or weak episodes to shows. Like,
Well, I'm saying that the show as a whole declined, so it didn't grow over time.
I would say it went down and then it became a cult classic, which many shows become, which makes it. But again, I'm
Maybe the
saying
first 4 seasons, but
No, because there's still. I think the like, where do you think we are scene? I think that was past the 4 seasons. That's a very well known scene. The whole rabies event was past the 4 seasons. That's also a well known scene. Again, I can go like you said. I don't want to just do episode per episode because I'd be here forever. But what I'm saying is a show that, because again, I'm focusing more on the fact that at the beginning, it was a show that was very basic, very bare bones, kind of a ripoff, like you said, generic. And then it evolved into this grandiose TV show, which I'm focusing on the evolution of the show because it went very far from becoming this sitcom to an actually like thought-provoking show. Whereas, we'll say Avatar went high, stay high, and Clone Wars is Clone Wars.
But I'd argue that Avatar, though, it started in granted a really good place, but it only got better from there.
I would
So
say
did
it
The
stayed
Office.
the same level.
So did The Office.
Points to
And
Dan.
actually, what a fantastic place to end this. We're gonna do a little fun editing bit here. You guys hang out for a minute because Dan and I have to talk. Because this is not a one-person decision.
If I pray, do I get bonus points?
So Dan and I have to talk.
Our
That's
Father,
bribing.
who is grace.
All right. We have returned from our technical difficulties.
Return of the Jedi.
I'm going to turn it over to God now, and she's going to explain her decision, as well as sort of my decision, but mainly her decision.
Okay.
I do want to give my decision a little bit of explanation here before we go into this. I know with the Spider-Man episode, my point was very much so focused on who argued the best. And if I was giving it to who argued the best, I would give it to John.
Thank you.
You carried this episode, you really did. But I do think Danny has won.
You're like giving me a death stare.
It's
You're like,
just a
yeah,
fun-
I argued
and
the
really-
best.
I really
I'm the
do
guest and I
think-
took over your show.
Don't interrupt God.
Oh, Jesus, I keep
I
saying that.
really do think that Danny has one technicality here. And I think every once in a while, God is allowed to be 2% biased. And it is the fact that every time you go back to Avatar, you are going to relate to a different character, and it is going to grow on you more, and you are going to just connect with it more. And it's every time you go back to it. Avatar's not just going to go, oh, it got better over time. It's like, oh, it's a fine wine. Avatar, The Last Airbender is something that is going to be better with age the more you age. Because the first time you're like, oh, this character's great. And then 5 years later, you're like, oh, wait, this character I hated when I was a kid, and now I love them, and blah, 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 blah. So God's going with Avatar. And God is not going to pick Danny every episode.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to pick him every episode.
Well,
I don't.
call
He doesn't
rigged.
need. He
To be fair.
doesn't need the ego boost. I promise you this.
To be fair, Danny also has the last couple. It won't be forever, but the last couple of times he's researched the most as well. So
Oh.
it makes sense. He has the most ammunition.
He pulled out like websites. Good for him.
No, he did. He
This
actually
man
not
had
that bad.
sources. I checked them. They
The
lined
last time
up.
he had like more than like 4 or 5 sources.
Did he?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
nice.
Once I get more time, you're on.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I know this show.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, as I'm in my car just working, like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, where am I going? Okay.
I do have to add one thing though. In the middle of the episode, I had to text Danny, all caps, and I said, "You're silly. You're missing a very good point. I can't tell you right now, but I'm yelling in here, and I'm not going to give you the hint."
I didn't get the text.
He didn't get his text on the iPad, which is better.
I was about to say,
it
he
should-
can
it
get,
would show
he can
up
get
on your-
communication from God on his iPad. I'm calling rigged again.
You should give me tips. Like,
Oh no!
giving you this is a two-person team.
I texted Dan. I'm like, listen, he's missing a point. I'm not going to tell him. I'm
What
going to
is
sit
it?
here and bite my tongue. Back when John was talking about the what is it? The Where Are We Now arc?
Yeah, no, where do you think we are?
Yes,
scene,
where do we think
which,
you are?
Again, if you-
Fantastic.
it's such a good scene.
I've seen a decent amount of Scrubs, more than I thought I did, honestly, thinking back. That shatters me every single time. Nothing will ever compare to Leaves on the Vine from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And
That is
you
a good
did
point.
not bring that up, and I was so disappointed in you because that would have shot him down right then and there.
I
That would
was-
have been the nail in the coffin for you.
I was adjacent to it. I said Tales of Bossing Say, but
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
but alas, that was not a factor of my decision. I'm just sitting here.
Sure.
I mean,
Poor Miguel has not even mentioned Clone Wars yet
I think-
from God.
Well, to be fair,
Miguel, I
I think
came in thinking you had this.
I did too.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
These two were really. You were kind of the politely.
I think I just-
No disrespect to Dan, you were the Dan of this episode because the two around you, Danny and John, just excelled in this episode. And like Dan and I had to talk through this because I was so unsure. I really didn't know where to go.
I think I just misinterpreted how this would go. 'Cause
I
I thought it was more.
Yeah, I
What
focused-
show has
I
gotten
knew
us
the-
I
over
agree.
time.
I focused more on that because I honestly would have gone with Dan and done The Office.
Yeah.
Or I would have done Sons of Anarchy. But those shows, those shows started
I would
at a high.
I think
and stayed.
I think honestly, if you could probably argue Sons of Anarchy would be better than Avatar because it started in a lower place than Avatar, but it still ended at like the highs of Avatar.
No,
say.
I'd say that you're talking about how it declined. I would say the last season was they
I
just
thought it was one of the best.
I mean it was good. Don't get me wrong.
We're
but
having a new debate right now.
if the question was what's the best show, I'd been like Sons of Anarchy, hands down, period, point blank. But because we added that little caveat of like that has grown on you over time, I was like, oh well. When I first watched Scrubs, I was like, man, whatever. And then as the show progressed and evolved, so I was like, oh, this is a good answer. So
Yeah.
And I think another kind of reason for my decision is I think there are a couple ways you can interpret the question because it can be, oh, as the show went on, I liked it more. I think it got better. But also as I went on in life, I think the show got better for me, which is kind of why I went the way that I did. Dan doesn't agree with me.
Who'd you pick?
who'd you vote for? Give it.
All right.
Let's hear it.
So I did vote for you, John.
That's what I
because you were the best arguer, and honestly, that has to count for something. Danny just had a really good defense with Avatar and a bias, but but
Rigged.
it is what it is. I'm not one to go at it with God right now, so I'm just gonna.
So God
Where it
has.
is.
We're all in agreement. God has final say. I don't want to be like just
Oh, no.
just
God
for
has
me.
final say.
Okay.
His final say.
I don't want to be.
No,
like
it's
that,
okay.
but-
We can debate with God. And again, like I had to bounce off Dan a little bit because I was a little unsure of, I don't know where I stand on this because I don't know if I could John definitely argued the best. You did very, very well. And
Thank
if God was biased every episode, Tom Holland would have won in episode 1, but Tom Holland did not.
Yeah.
She's goddamn right.
Well, that's also because Dan's argument was terrible.
Well,
Dan
yeah.
had terrible arguments.
But that just proves that God's not biased.
I mean, if you're gonna do the whole,
also goddamn right.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's either one person makes a decision, or if we're gonna have Danny's input or Dan's input matter, you're gonna need a third person to then be a tiebreaker. So that's something to consider down the line.
We're still working out.
What
the
did you
kinks.
call me?
I just thought of that
John,
because
what
I
did you
was.
just call me? What did you almost call me?
What did I call you?
You almost call me Danny?
Well, you both have the same name. You're lucky I'm just not calling you one of the nicknames from our childhood.
We don't really have any.
You did.
I didn't know.
I'll tell you off camera. We can't say it for monetization reasons.
All right. I think we are wrapping up this episode here of Duel the Debates. John, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you as always.
Yeah, no, and we're gonna see you again on the next episode. We're Seen It Before. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok with the handle at Seen It Beforecast. That's SCENE It Beforecast, and on Twitter with the handle SIB_pod. I'm Dan.
I'm Danny. You can find me on Instagram at Danny_Was, my letterboxd at DJ Was, or my YouTube at which is just Danny Was. And Miguel, you got anything?
Yeah, I got a YouTube channel. It's a gaming channel, Lion Blaze 321.
I'm John. I don't have any social media. I just love to debate.
Your CG
Nerd shit.
John.
Yeah, just John.
All right, cool.